The second tournament of the season has just concluded, and unfortunately we still have a pretty big issue with players crashing, which is actually leading to tomorrow's divisional cups getting rescheduled and potentially even canceled as well. But the tournament today was still able to run, and we also have to talk about how Clix is now completely uncontested for globals and go over the fully updated globals map up until this point. Welcome to the stars though. Please subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, as we try our best to upload daily competitive content for you guys. If you guys want to support me even more, the best way to do so is by using code KDOG in the Fortnite item shop. We have a lot to go over in today's video, so let's just get it started. Alright, so let's go over every single team that was able to qualify for the finals of the Eval Cup. Then we'll actually go over what the current map is looking like for globals. So in first place, we had the trio of Visuals, Braids, and Diminished. One of our globals teams, they won 2 out of their 6 matches and got 348 points. Second place was G Money and potentially his new trio mates of Taki and Sales. Third place was our Asia team that actually won a game last week. This trio is absolutely abusing this broken item. I'll try to put a video up of it on the screen right here because this thing needs to be removed from comp as soon as possible. They literally used this item last week to be able to win a game in the Eval Cup, and now pretty much every other team is figuring out how to use it, and it is just absolutely so broken, especially if you're able to get multiple of them from your POI. You are literally just like almost an unstoppable team in the lobby. Fourth place, of course, in his classic position is the trio of Clix and Higgs. Fifth place is Zavi. Sixth place is Power. Seventh place is the Brazil boys of Phaser King and PH Zen, and as we'll talk about later, they are no longer contesting Clix off spawn. Eighth place is Curve Josh and Tyler. Ninth place is Pishy, and then rounding out the top 10 is actually an EU trio of Pix, Darm, and Hari. So some other big names that we had that were able to qualify was like Ritual, Peterbot, and Booga in 11th. I think Ritual said Cold is supposed to get back from his little trip that he was taking back home tomorrow. So he was supposed to be here right back in time for the Div Cups, but it's looking like the Div Cups are probably going to get rescheduled. I'm hoping they just get rescheduled one day. So instead of them being on Wednesday, it'll be on Thursday, Friday, and then the finals on Sunday. But Cold hopefully should be back for that. Another one of our LAN teams in 24th place of Rapid, Kanata, and Bolts. And then that was about it for all of our LAN teams inside of the top 33. We did, like always though, have some big names not be able to qualify, like exactly in 100th place. Another one of our LAN trios of Mush, Shadow, and Sphinx were not able to make it, only finished with 172 points in 6 total matches. And then definitely the biggest one of the day, in 109th place, we had the trio of Agers, Acorn, and Pollo. They only finished with 168 total points. Their first 4 games were honestly just completely awful, and then they tried to bring it back in their very final 3 games, but it just wasn't enough. Pretty much like what I say for every single other one of these Eval Cups that we go over, I'm not really too worried about if a team is able to make an Eval finals or not. I think it definitely is good for some extra practice, but we should still hopefully have the Div Cups literally just in a couple of days, and that is always going to be a tournament that means more than just a literal tournament that is made for evaluating how the tournaments are being played. And especially with how many crashing issues we still have, I don't think them missing one Eval Cup is necessarily too serious. But if you guys are curious, Peterbot actually decided to claim Demon's Debris since Pollo's trio was not able to qualify, which could potentially lead to him maybe wanting to swap POIs if he actually likes it enough. Let's move on to the Global Championship map now, and then we'll talk about how the finals went. Alright, now here is actually the current updated Global Championships map, and as you guys can see, Clix and Higgs are now fully uncontested at Supernova Academy, and I'm not gonna lie, Clix really has to thank Ferdoxy for this. We all know Ferdoxy is the off-spawn GOAT, but I'm honestly like really surprised on how generous he actually is with sharing his off-spawn tech and helping other teams practice off-spawn, because I feel like there is so many players in this game that if they had a set skill that they were just so far and ahead of everybody else, they would not want to help anybody else with it. But Ferdoxy literally seems to want to help any trio with off-spawn practice that he possibly can, and you can tell such a huge difference in not only Clix's drops, but just their team's fighting IQ and chemistry in general. from before that they started working with Ferdoxy compared to after, because in the Eval Cup that we saw last week, when they were conned by King off spawn, I think they literally lost like 2 or 3 to 1 off spawn, and then in scrims they literally went like 3-0 versus them, and then King's trio decided to leave and now land at this triple contest versus Seti, Yapko, and Panzer and Scarpa's trio. So of course instantly rises Clix's stocks in this FNCS Global Championship. He should almost be a lock to a lot of people for placing top 10 now. And then the other main one that you guys will probably realize is Vico, Vino, and Flixie are now fully uncontested because Mr. Savage, Shap, and Rezon have decided to leave and go contest Rise, Yuma, and Quayota at this split up here now. I think the agreement was that if Mr. Savage's trio actually left the POI to Vico, Vino, and Flixie, that Flixie's trio would help them off spawn practice like every single day. And there definitely is still a possibility that Quayota's trio decides to leave the drop spot, but I think this is a better off spawn fighting situation for them. I know Quayota is absolutely crazy at the game. I have no clue how good he is at off spawns, but compared to Vico, Vino, and Flixie, I think this is a better matchup for Mr. Savage's trio. Let's actually move on to how the finals went now though. Now, I can almost guarantee you that right now, Peterbot, Ritual, and their coach of Raz are in a Discord call, and they are discussing on whether or not they should land at Demon's Debris on Pollo in the FNCS Global Championships, because the performance that they just put on today with Booga, keep in mind, this wasn't even cold there, so you're replacing Booga with a player who was arguably the best player in the last two grand finals in cold. But with Booga today, this trio was still able to get a 7 elimination 7th, 14 elimination win, 3 elimination 15th, and a 15 elimination win out of a fully uncontested Demons.
Hey Fred, we gotta see what happens, bro. See what King Pete wants to do. You know I don't make any decisions.
Now, I just have to say that if Peterbot leaves Rebels to go and contest Pollo, this has to be just 100% an EU LAN win. Like 3 out of the 5 top teams on EU would be fully uncontested, and then Ferdoxy would just be single conned by Tayson, compared to NA that has their 2 best teams conning each other, and then it's really just down to either like Clix, Kanata, or maybe even a Visuals. So if you're an EU fan and you want to see EU win another LAN, this is exactly what you want. Now, of course, none of them have officially announced whether or not they are actually going to be contesting Pollo at Globals quite yet, but I do just have to say things are potentially looking scary, and we could get another just absolute cinema next 3 weeks if we get a Peterbot versus Pollo off spawn. Second place was Zavi, Fishy, and Rojo. They had a very solid match history today as well, getting an 11 elimination win, 4 elimination 9th, and a 5 elimination 6th. Third place is another one of our LAN trios, the NA West FNCS champions. I think they won 2 out of the 3 grand finals on NA West of Bakapars and Pump. They got a 5 elimination 8th, 0 elimination 9th, 4 elimination 6th, and an 11 elimination win. I think out of any smaller region team, if we're considering NA West to be a smaller region, if Bakapars and Pump were fully uncontested, I think this team would have real top 10 potential at LAN. But as of right now, they are going to be contesting Demus's trio. And then that was legit it for all of the teams that were able to get wins today. In 4th place, we had Threats, Ozone, and Chimp. They were the most consistent trio of the day, getting a 10 elimination 2nd, 2 elimination 8th, 5 elimination 4th, and a 10 elimination 5th. I don't necessarily think this is like 100% confirmed future trio to be with each other now, but they did look really good in this eval cup. 5th place was Rapid, Kanata, and Bolts. They also looked really good today, only had 1 bad game, which was their first game, but then after that they got a 6 elimination 6th, 11 elimination 2nd, and a 7 elimination 3rd. 6th place was Veer, 7th was Curve, Josh, and Tyler. 8th place was Phoenix, 9th place was Higher, and then rounding out the top 10 was Clix, Iamzo, and Higgs. They only got to play out 3 games today because in the very final game, Clix did end up crashing. Their best games before that was a 7 elimination 4th, 10 elimination 2nd, and then a 0 elimination 19th. In the games that they were able to make it into the end game, they still look like one of the better trios in this lobby, which is exactly what you should be expecting out of these guys. But obviously, like I just said, they weren't even able to play their very final game of the day. That is why they are so much lower on the leaderboard than you would probably expect. We then had like Visuals, Brazen, and Minish in 14th, Phaser King and PHN in 16th. And that was about it for all of the big names in this finals. Now for the final statistics, the highest damage ratio was Tenya with a 2.42. Most damage to players was Bolts with 5,680. Assist was Rapid, Time of Storm was Silic, Time Alive was Threats with 1 hour and 41 minutes. And then for the entire Elim leaderboard, we have Pump in 10th, Chimp in 9th, Ritual in 8th, Iamzo in 7th, Fishy in 6th, Retro in 5th, Bolts in 4th, Threats in 3rd, Chance in 2nd, and then finally at the top of Elim leaderboards again with 22 total Elims is Peterbot. NA Central was very fun to watch today. Let's actually move on to how EU went now. Now in EU, it was basically the same pen but a different paper. The same bugs that we saw happen on NA also happened on EU with the crashing issues, the absolutely broken bugs as well. Let's talk about everybody that was able to qualify though. Like first place of Vino, Vico, and Flixie on 345. Second place was Turtle Prodage and Gabix on 337. Third place was Yasin. Fourth place was Wheat. Fifth place was Trippin, sixth place Maxi King, seventh was Nano, eighth place was ADN, ninth place was Sky, and then rounding out the top 10 was Scary. So only one LAN team in the entire top 10, and that was kind of a theme with this EU eval finals, is there was not that many teams that actually qualified for the globals in it. Some other big names we had was like Sky Scroll and Sand Guild in 14th, Venia Pixie and Marius, another one of our LAN teams in 16th. Mr. Savage Shap and Rezon were able to qualify though, and they finished in 20th. And then we had Pingwax and Malabuka in 30th. So yes, there was a lot of LAN trios and just other big names that were not able to qualify, like 34th place of Vidil, Kaido, and Haijo. Mongrel is still not back yet, so he has not competed in any tournaments yet this season. Some of our other LAN teams in 85th place of Frisk, Tayson, and Chicho, and then in 92nd place of Pixstorm and Demis were also not able to qualify. iDropari and Cammy finished in 108th place, Focus Mixed and Apple in 125th. Ferdoxy, Pablo, and Chino in 185th, so literally our most recent FNCS Grand Finals champions were not able to qualify. And yeah, the crashing issue is still pretty prevalent. As I said earlier, there is going to be the Div Cups literally have to get rescheduled because of how bad this crashing issue has been. Am I worried about any of these teams that were not able to qualify though? No, of course not. So many external factors led to a lot of these teams not being able to make it. Let's actually move on to how the finals went now though for the teams that were able to make it. Alright, so in the finals now, the trio that finished in first place is some people's favorites to win the FNCS Global Championships, the most consistent EU team this year of Venia, Pixie, and Marius. They finished with 1 total win today, got 26 total elims. Their match history was a 10 elimination win, 3 elimination 20th, which was far and away their worst game. Then they got a 7 elimination 5th and a 6 elimination 8th. This is a consistency trio that can also get a mid-tier amount of elims, which is why they're always going to be in that top 3 range of leaderboards. This team is always going to look so strong no matter what tournament they play in, and I am going to continue to be so high on them going into the global championships. And there are other 3 game winners I don't necessarily say was like super surprising, but I don't think a lot of people really expected it. In second place, we had the trio of Hyper, Relis, and Zedon. Their best games of the day was a 10 elimination second and a 9 elimination win, so they were very close to being able to win multiple games in this eval cup. Huge shout out to them. Third place was Specs, Psychspot, and Gonzo. They got a 5 elimination win in the very final game, and then a 4 elimination second in the previous game. So another trio that also had a real potential to be able to win multiple games in this tournament. And then in fourth place was the trio that had the least amount of elims in the entire top 21, but they were still able to win a game. They only got 7 total elims, but in the game they won, they got a 5 elimination win. And in a tournament like this, that is all that matters. So who really cares how many elims you're getting? If you're making money, you're making money. But yeah, only one LAN team was able to get a win today. The rest of the leaderboard was like 5th place of Vino, Vico, and Flixie. They finished with far and away the most elims in this entire tournament with 43 total elims, and the second closest team had 34 of Kylie's trio. But Vino's match history was a 6 elimination 11th, 10 elimination 15th, 11 elimination 3rd, and a 16 elimination 4th. This trio continues to look so good now. I think if they're able to just find that real consistency where they're able to get consistent top 7 or 8 placements in matches while also getting like 7 to 8 elims a game, this is 100% a trio now that is especially going to be uncontested, has a real chance to be able to win this global championships. And I don't think anybody should be surprised if they do either, but I also think it's going to be pretty difficult to win a globals if they don't start showing some more consistency. But the fragging ability is always going to be there for potentially being one of the best fighting teams in the entire world, and you still just have to be so high on these guys. 8th place, like I said earlier, the trio that finished with the second most elims was Kylie, Khan, and Timu. They had 2 10+ elimination games, getting a 12 elimination 3rd and a 12 elimination 2nd. And then in 7th place, we have another one of our LAN teams of Chat, Mr. Savage, and Rezon. They finished with the 4th most elims in this entire tournament. They got a 2 elimination 3rd, 9 elimination 5th, 11 elimination 15th, and a 3 elimination 19th. In their final 2 games, they kind of went back to what we saw from them before grand finals, where they were pretty much just keying every single team that they saw. And I mean, heck, they literally got 11 elims before the first rotating zones even started in one of them. But I do also just wish this team played a little bit more conservative, because especially at globals, I think a lot of us can probably agree that they're not just going to be able to W key every single game for Surge if they want to have a high placement on the leaderboards. And I don't necessarily sound like someone that's saying this should be Surge trading in an eval cup where 15 players are crashing a game and there's like 60 people alive after first zone, so I don't want to like hyper analyze too much of their gameplay from here. But Chab continues to look like a crazy fighter. They still look like they have potential to be a very good fighting team. I just feel like also every single time that they get into fights, one of them ends up dying, they have to reboot, and it kind of just ruins the rest of their game. And I know that they are currently still going to be contested at globals, but this is going to be a very fun team to watch nevertheless. 18th place was Anas Skrill in Hellfire, 9th place was Zoom, and then rounding out the top 10 was Nebs Twy in Axe Force. So the other big names we had was like 14th place of Sky Scroll and Sand Guild, Pingwax and Malibuka in 19th. This team was honestly just trolling the entire tournament. They were literally opening that like 10-minute long briefcase that gives you loot in the last game. This team was literally just out there having fun. And then that was really honestly about it for all of the big names in this eval cup. Let's actually move on to the final statistics now. Alright, now for the statistics, the highest damage ratio was Vanya with a 2.14. The most damage to players was Vico with 5,677. The most assists was Vanya, time in storm was Mara, time alive was Vino. And then let's go over the entire Elim leaderboard. We have Vino in 10th, Pixie in 9th, Vanya in 8th, Timu in 7th, Zoom in 6th, Kylie in 5th, Anas in 4th, Rezon in 3rd with 14, Vico in 2nd with 17, and then Flixie in 1st with 17 as well. Honestly, huge shout out to Flixie recently. He has honestly been fragging out of his mind. For a player that is supposed to be in a like support type of role, I feel like people are not talking about that enough of how good he has actually been playing recently. Other than that though, remember, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, as we try our best to upload daily competitive content for you guys. If you guys want to support me even more, the best way to do so is by using code KDOG in the Fortnite item shop. YouTube says there's only one of these two videos up on the screen right now, so go check them out if you guys haven't already. I love all you guys and appreciate all you guys. Hopefully the tournaments get rescheduled soon so we can have some more tournaments to talk about in the future. Thank God for another day, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.